right, good morning, y'all. Welcome to Rooted in Progress. If you're joining us live, you know it's Thursday. What's up? Live from the Stream Center here with your host, Deanne King for Terrence Middlebrooks. How are you today?
That's a loaded question this morning. That is a loaded question. I'm doing well, as always. Happy to be here. Happy to be sitting alongside of you for another great episode of Rooted in Progress. Good morning, people. How is everyone doing out there in the wonderful world of today?
Right. Hopefully everyone is okay.
Yeah.
All of the folks who are joining us live right now, especially on Facebook, I want y'all to tap into this conversation because we're talking about something today, not only very serious, but also something that we have been following for the last month and a week.
Yep.
Something that has been circulating all across social media. I've seen a lot of untrue things. So what we wanted to do was bring some clarity to this situation while also bringing you up to date on the latest information about 18-year-old Nolan Wells. So what we're going to do in a little bit, we're going to dive through and go through the timeline and give you all the factual information of what happened and what we know so far as it relates to the death of Nolan Wells. But Terrence, I want to ask you first, when did you find out about this, hear about this, and what was your initial reaction?
So, I mean, it was right after 4th of July. I think the next day is when the media outlets started reporting on this. And after you really sitting down, listening to all the details, it disturbed me. It was very disturbing. Why? Why do you ask that? Well, because I have a son who's 18. I have a son who has a multicultural list of friends that he hangs out with and all that. I mean, that could have been my son. Not knowing all the details of the facts, I kind of dove into it. It caught my attention right off the top. And so I just kept thinking to myself, like, God, I hope they find him. I hope this doesn't turn out bad or anything. So, you know, it hit me to the core. It hit me to the core. So what about you? What did you think about it?
I think for me, it was more of like another one.
I didn't want to jump to those conclusions just yet.
Well, when it originally came out and we saw kind of like the facts of it, I knew at the end of the day that there was still going to be some odd details surrounding it, regardless of whatever the outcome was. And so that's why my initial reaction was just like, another one. And then to find out a couple of days later that unfortunately he was found dead, it broke my heart. And this goes for anyone, no matter what you look like, no matter what your race is, a parent who loses a child. Right. It's something that, my God, I hope I never have the experience, and I could only just pray for those who have to go through situations like this. But the details surrounding this situation are just really hard to believe. So we're going to go through the timeline of what took place with Nolan Wells. For folks who have questions, if you want to hop in on this conversation, again, we are live right now on the WFLA Facebook page. So tap into this conversation. Let us know your thoughts and your opinion. So Nolan Wells, he was reported missing the night of 4th of July, right? So he went out like a lot of folks on the 4th of July, right? We want to go out on the water. We want to hang out with our friends. We want to be on a boat. We want to see some fireworks, whatever. Just an 18-year-old being an 18-year-old. He joins a bunch of his friends. They get out on a boat and they do a trip to Horn Island. That is a barrier island to Jackson County, Mississippi, for people who are unfamiliar with that area. So the boat, it actually went out about 5:40, or it returned, I should say, about 5:40 p.m. on the 4th of July. Nolan Wells was not on that boat when they returned. The mom, Nolan Wells' mother, did not receive a phone call until 11 p.m. Until 11 p.m. from one of Nolan's friends, letting her know that he was not with them and he did not return with them. Now, at some point, what we have found out that someone on the boat actually called a towing company for assistance, saying a pump stopped working and the boat is sinking. That was on the recorded call that has now been released to media. And so they also referenced that 7 people were on that boat. I'm going to mention this detail. Now, one of the 7 people is the son of Ashley Cole. This is one of the details, Terrence, that a lot of people are struggling to kind of cope with. Yeah. Ashley Cole is a Jackson County judge. Yeah. Her son was on that boat. Her son is one of Nolan's friends. She has released a statement saying that her family, as well as her son, cooperating with this investigation. But that's what initially happened. That's what we know to have happened officially on the 4th of July, Terrence.
Well, and I'll tell you, just that call, that gap in the timeline is what's questionable.
Yeah.
And if you know the fact that you had a buddy that did not come back, or a kid did not come back immediately, I'm going to jump in response mode.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is the fact that they didn't contact his mother till 6-7 hours later.
Yeah.
What is going on in that time frame?
Yeah.
And just kind of piggyback off June 4th, the next day.
Or July 5th.
Excuse me, July 5th. The very next day, July 5th, one of Nolan's friends' mom returned Nolan's phone to his mother. And his mother was able to get into this phone and realize there were some messages that had been deleted. And so that's the question as to why were these messages deleted and what's going on? Who's covering? What are you guys covering up? Yeah. So it's a very, very sad situation, and it's almost scary, and a lot of questions that need to be answered.
July 5th, for those of you who may not know this detail, that cell phone, right, from Nolan's friend's mom, she actually claimed to have tracked it via Snapchat. And then she was able to find it at this house where she said, quote, there were a lot of people. So that's also something else, some other details that people are still trying. It's questionable to a lot of folks, right? So here's the thing. You have July 4th, he goes missing. July 5th, mom gets his cell phone trying to figure out where her baby is. She's posting on social media, asking people for information. I'm hoping that her son will return along with Nolan's father. The body of 18-year-old Nolan Wells was then found in the water off Horn Island 2 days later. Yeah. That was the morning of July 6th. And I remember when that news dropped, and I think I was just devastated. It went from another one to like, my God.
Yes.
And just ultimate in prayer immediately. The coroner's office, they actually came out and they said, hey, we're going to go ahead and request that the medical examiner's office actually do the autopsy, which, by the way, those results still have not been released to this day.
Well, let me just kind of back up a little bit on what you're stating, Deanne. It's also the fact that the dad had went out on a boat, a friend of his or someone he knew had a boat, and voluntarily took him out on this boat is when they discovered his body. And it was like, okay, how come there was no immediate search for this kid? Even going into that later on that night, between the nights of July 4th and July 5th.
Yeah.
Why did it have to take the dad to get a friend on a boat and you go out on their own?
Well, I do know, thankful. So as the mom and the dad, they were putting out all this information on social media. There were a bunch of organizations and just people in the community that went out and said, hey, we want to help. And so I think because of that camaraderie, I'd like to think that's why and how that it eventually led to that.
Let's hope,
which in those moments, right, I'm grateful that the community stepped up and tried to help the Wells family as much as they possibly could. It just was unfortunate with how things ended up and how they panned out. So we're here on July 6th. We find out that they found Nolan Wells' body. The coroner's office requests that the state medical examiner's office actually conduct the autopsy. But on that same day, the sheriff announced no foul play was suspected. This is before an autopsy is performed. This is before the medical examiner's office receives his body. He comes out and says no foul play is suspected at this time.
48 hours later, he has this result.
The day they find the body.
Yes, there was no results of foul play. With that being said, the family then went on and hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump. He also did a press conference also with Nolan's mom. Let's take a listen to this.
There are so many conflicting stories. The fact that she said him being found face down, the fact that we have other videos where people who have called said that is Nolan who is in some kind of dispute with others. We're looking at all of these things. The fact that the GPS tracking of the boat is being questioned by many. We're trying to dot every I and cross every T.
It was not even an hour that his body had been removed, and the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play. Again, that is why we're doing what we're doing and why we're moving the way we are. Because I sat there and asked them, please take this case as if this is your child, yes, your family member, your whatever. And they promised that they would, but when you make statements like that straight out the gate, that's an issue. We did meet with the DA. She did promise, transparency and all of this, all of that. However, damage has already been done because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who, again, know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. So in addition to that, it's all these things coming up. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child.
Wow, that we just heard from Nolan Wells' mother, as well as attorney Ben Crump, who is representing the family of Nolan Wells. And she's right, right?
Oh, yeah.
Any parent who would be in their shoes would be doing anything. Scratching, clawing, fighting as much as they possibly could to get answers in regards to what happened to their son. There's so much to unpack here. We're going to go over the results of that independent autopsy. We also have a newly released response from attorney Ben Crump as it relates to the latest in this Nolan Wells investigation. Tons of you also pouring in comments, questions, concerns. We're going to address those coming up after this quick break. Well, welcome back to Rooted in Progress, y'all. On this Thursday, we are live right now on the WFLA Facebook page and the WFLA app. Tap into this conversation. We are talking about Nolan Wells, providing you a timeline of what took place with Nolan Wells, along with where this investigation lies today. We just heard from Nolan's mother, who, my goodness, his mom, his dad, I could only imagine how they still feel to this day. And we also just heard from attorney Ben Crump, who is representing Nolan Wells' family. So here's what has happened. They did release, or prior to hearing from attorney Crump and his mother, July 20th was Nolan Wells' funeral, by the way, which was paid for by Tyler Perry. We've seen Colin Kaepernick helping the family as well. He paid for that independent autopsy. But when attorney Crump, when Nolan Wells' parents actually were there talking about the results of this independent autopsy, what we found was it was undetermined. Pending investigation. The doctor who conducted the independent autopsy said he did not receive Nolan Wells' full body. His throat was missing. Yeah. So because of that, they said that the results of the autopsy were undetermined pending investigation because they could not determine or look at Nolan Wells' neck. And their autopsy revealed that there was red bruising on the back of Nolan Wells' head. And so those are pretty much all of the details that really came out of this independent autopsy that ultimately is essentially non-conclusive, Terrence.
Well, and with the independent autopsy, the results, or at least what the parents are hoping, is some type of truth.
Correct.
And
an answer of what happened.
An answer, and not really accusing the state of Mississippi and what they're doing of hiding anything, but just to be, this has been going on for years, generations, and they just want truth. So therefore, they conducted this independent autopsy in hopes to find the truth, to close this chapter, so that Nolan can rest well in peace. And so that result that came back was probably gut-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching for me.
I listened to it live.
Yes,
I listened to it live.
too.
I was waiting. Because Attorney Crump did a lot in that news conference. But I was waiting for the details. And then when they came out, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It took the breath out of me.
Yeah.
It literally took the breath out of me because, again, we thought at some point, I thought at least, that this investigation was getting really close to being closed or solved, or the truth being told.
So that day that Attorney Crump released the details of the independent autopsy, the next day, the official autopsy out of Mississippi was completed. They announced that it was completed. However, said that it would not be made public until the case was seen by a jury.
Yeah.
And so this thing, a grand jury at that. So technically, the results of the official autopsy are out there.
Yeah.
They have not been made available to the public because they have to await for a grand jury to actually see. Now, I will say that the state attorney's office, they all said this is common practice. They do this with a lot of cases. However, it's still one of those things that's making you think, like, why? Working in this news business, when we get emails and when we get autopsy results from coroners and things like that, it usually comes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not an email that says you need to wait for a grand jury. So that's pretty interesting. So at this point, we're kind of in just this waiting pattern and holding pattern to find out at least the state of Mississippi's results from their state medical examiner's office as it relates to the results of the autopsy of Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and it's a scary situation, and the more we even talk about it now, that you hope for the best. You hope justice will be served.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no winner in any of this, by no means whatsoever.
I want to address. Sorry to cut you off there, Terrence. Some of the comments, we're getting tons of comments right now. Taylor says, the chills I get every time I hear this story. It's so sad. My heart goes out to this family. Why so many delays? Why didn't you call his mom? That is a question that I've been seeing all across social media too, when it comes to that lag and letting the mother know and letting Nolan's mom know, what had happened and that he didn't return on the boat with him. And I'm also seeing, and we're going to say both sides here. Catherine chiming in saying he needs to be sued. He is the biggest race baiter and ambulance chaser. Assuming probably she may be talking about the attorney involved in this case. And Catherine, everyone's entitled to their own opinion when it comes to this. I think at the end of the day, he's doing a job. He was hired to represent this family. He was hired to find the truth, which is what the family is seeking. And ultimately, he's probably just doing that job.
And you have to represent, or excuse me, you have to get someone that you at least trust.
Yeah.
Someone that you know is going to fight tooth and nails for you. And I'm not taking up for Ben Crump or saying you're wrong, Catherine. You're right, Catherine. Well, excuse me. Let me correct that, Catherine. You have a right to your opinion. I thank you for watching. I thank you for commenting on this. And it is if he is or if he isn't. The bottom line is this 18-year-old son was taken way too soon, and something. Just like I believe Ed put in there, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
No matter what they are.
No matter what they are, no matter who represents this family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that needs to be answered, and those that are involved need to speak up.
Rachel chiming in saying that there was obviously foul play or it wouldn't be taking this long to rule out everything. If I can't find my friend after a long day of partying, I wouldn't go lawyer up right before they were even found. Someone did something to that baby, and God will give answers in the end. So a lot of thoughts, opinions when it comes to this story. I think a lot of people, I think America wants the answers about what happened to Nolan Wells. I want to give you all the latest, though, as it relates to this case, because Terrence, and this is me just adding my little 2 cents, this to me is what was wild. So a man, we're now facing, there are 3 people who have been charged with threatening witnesses in the case. This is the current, the latest update as it relates to the Nolan Wells case. What ultimately happened here were people were accused of making multiple threats. That includes to the courts, that includes to the sheriff's deputies, that includes to some of the witnesses involved in this Nolan Wells case. So there are 3 people who have currently been charged with that and of making multiple threats in the Nolan Wells case. However, Attorney Crump just yesterday released a statement condemning an investigation into Nolan Wells' mother. If you've been following this case and you don't know what just happened this week. So ultimately what happened was the Mississippi Board of Nursing, they launched a professional misconduct investigation after an anonymous complaint was made about Nolan's mother. An anonymous complaint was made to the Mississippi Board of Nursing about Nolan's mother for professional misconduct. Attorney Crump released a long statement basically saying this is a warning shot. It's meant to pressure this grieving mother. It's meant to attack her during this time of grief and this ultimate time of distress for her, her family, her husband, and everyone who knew and loved Nolan. And so that is the very latest, especially with Attorney Crump chiming in on this, knowing that the Mississippi Board actually did and launched this investigation, which is wild.
It was just wild, and it just blows my mind that we're going through this in 2026, and we're still having to fight and get to the bottom of things that we have a justice system in place to take care of. And it's again, being the father of a 18-year-old son, this could have been me. What would I would have? How would I would have handled this? I don't know. And I'm just I'm afraid that this is gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse, and this could be a case that gets swept under the rug, and we may not ever get to the bottom of this, because throughout history, this is not our first rodeo.
Yeah.
So
hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm going to read Attorney Crump's full statement as it relates to Nolan Wells' mother's investigation coming up after this break. All right, welcome back to Rooted in Progress, where we are continuing our conversation and update on the Nolan Wells case. For folks who are just joining us, we are live right now on the WFLA Facebook page. We're looking at your comments and your questions. I do want to go back. Pamela Eli said, I did not hear the independent autopsy results. So the independent autopsy results revealed a couple of things. One, according to that doctor who was hired to do the independent autopsy, they found red bruising on the back of Nolan Wells' head. But the ultimate result of that independent autopsy was, quote, it was undetermined pending investigation because Nolan Wells' full body was not given to this doctor who conducted the independent autopsy. Nolan's throat was missing, so they were not able to actually investigate and look at Nolan's throat as it relates to that autopsy. So they had to basically have inconclusive results. The official or unofficial results are undetermined pending investigation. And I will also go back and let you all know that on July 23rd, the day after the independent autopsy results were released, the official autopsy results with the state of Mississippi were announced that they were concluded. They were completed. They had them. However, they won't be made public until seen by a grand jury. We are still waiting on the official release of those autopsy results. But of course, it's still just a waiting game at this point.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to just the questions that people are putting in the chat. What happened to, I'm trying to see where, Wanda asked the question, did anyone question the girl that he was supposed to have stayed back on the island with? What's her story? And that's a good question, Wanda. That's the same thing I asked, because the story, for those that don't know, the story was that Nolan chose
to stay back.
Voluntarily chose to stay back with a female friend. I mean, I understand these kids could be under the age of 18 and may not be able to be reported or because of their age. However, this doesn't stop questions to be answered. So yeah, I just don't. It blows my mind.
Yeah. And for those of you, again, joining us with the latest information as it relates to this case, the Mississippi Board of Nursing actually launched a professional misconduct investigation after an anonymous complaint was made against Nolan Wells' mother. The latest details that we do have from Attorney Ben Crump, he says, quote, this is a warning shot at a grieving mother meant to pressure and scare her into staying quiet. It's a distraction. It's intimidation, and we will not let it stand. Christine had part of her identity stolen from her the day Nolan died. Now someone is trying to take another piece of it. This cruelty knows no bounds. It goes on to say, look at the timeline. Christine has cared for patients in Mississippi throughout her career, years of service to her patients without a single complaint against her to the Board of Nursing. Then her son was found dead. She did what any grieving mother would do. She took a leave of absence to bury her child and search for answers. And only now, after all of that, does an anonymous person want the Board of Nursing to believe she is a bad nurse. Nothing about her practice changed. The only thing that changed is that she started asking questions. So a lot coming out of this, but I still think the ultimate question is, what happened to Nolan Wells?
What happened?
Yeah.
Someone knows something. And one thing, Deanne, that just crosses my mind often is that these young men that are so-called Nolan's friends, how are they sleeping at night?
Yeah.
What is going on throughout their head minute after minute when it gets quiet, when they're sitting in their room by themselves? And that just, I mean, at some point, a person's going to break. And I hope that this story, again, like I just said, doesn't get buried. We have to constantly keep talking about it. Some of you guys may ask, why are we talking about this on this program 5 weeks later? Trust me, we've been at this from week one, trying to get a hold of someone to come on and talk. And at some point, you know, we realized, like, okay, we're 5 weeks into this investigation. Let's bring this up. Let's and as you see, it's just Deanne and I bringing up these facts because it's something that we don't want to get swept under the rug. And we got to keep this story going. And
also bringing you factual information, because we do know, especially across social media platforms and so online, there are so many things coming out of here that are not true. I do want to bring this this comment up, Terrence. So Eric Benson says, if the races were reversed and a young white boy was found dead after a night of partying with 3 black friends on a desert island in the middle of nowhere, this would be handled a lot differently. So, Eric, this is where I'm going to insert my 2 cents. I can count on one hand how many times this has been in our newscast. I can count on probably 2 hands how often I've seen coverage of this case. And I'm talking about like a step-by-step coverage as new information comes out. We have new information that was just released today about his mother, about that investigation with the nursing board, all of that, right? And I have not seen consistencies as a journalist within the news. However, I believe that you are correct, or Eric, if the races were reversed, it would be a lot different. Because I do think it would be leading a lot more newscasts. I do think the conversation would be happening a whole lot more if the roles were reversed. I think everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I think this is a space where Rooted in Progress is about talking about the progress within the Black community. And stuff like this is what is holding us back. And I think at the end of the day, we have to do our jobs to make sure that we are, one, spreading the truth, letting people know what the facts are, where we are with certain cases like this, but making sure that it doesn't happen again. What do we do to make sure there's not another Nolan Wells?
And not to discredit any other missing child report or, you know, in an investigation, ongoing investigation of anybody's child. But this right here it is a national story. It is an ongoing investigation. And to me, it hit home. It hit home for me. So I don't want you guys to think, oh, well, just because we're Rooted in Progress, we have to talk about this. No, this is a national story that is talked about. I mean, we've covered quite a bit of missing persons cases and open investigation murder cases on WFLA platform. So, so again, this is something that's worth us bringing to attention.
So for folks, again, we will continue to keep you all updated on what's going on with this case with Nolan Wells. For folks who are still listening and just now joining, again, Nolan Wells disappeared 4th of July, found dead on July 6th. His parents have retained attorney Ben Crump as their attorney. An independent autopsy is still pending, further investigation and undetermined at this time. An official autopsy by the state of Mississippi, has been completed. However, will not be made public until it is seen by a grand jury. We will continue to keep y'all updated on this case. I'm sure there are clearly a lot more details to be released, Terrence.
Yeah, absolutely, Deanne. And again, my heart goes out to the family of both sets of friends.
Absolutely.
Nolan Wells as well as his friend's family, because this is a very, very troubled time that each one of them are living in. So.
All right. Well, y'all be good, be kind to one another. This is Rooted in Progress. We are live every Thursday, y'all, at 9:30 in the morning. We are live on the WFLA Facebook page where you can engage, ask your questions, make your comments, no matter what they may say. We love everybody who tunes into Rooted in Progress. But all of our episodes are also always available on all streaming platforms. Of course, also the WFLA streaming TV app as well. Y'all stay rooted. We'll see you back here next Thursday.
Stay rooted, folks. Thank you.